but I'll just, repeat myself. Good evening and welcome to beautiful historical Marionette Theater. It is Friday, June 21st. It's just after the top of the hour, and that could mean exactly one thing. It's time for that show about film and television trivia. And I am just waiting for folks to hear us in the chat room. Hello there.
Yeah, I heard you for a second, and I'm getting the rolling ball of death, but I'm pretty sure we're live. It says we're live.
Okay. Well, then I will go ahead and find my place and see if I can get going yonder here. Here we go.
Oh, no. It does say that the stream ended.
That was, I had to stop the one that I was doing, and I started a new one.
All right.
You want to refresh only one more time?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I'm not getting any sound, but I do see. Anyways, yeah, I'm not getting sound for some reason.
Huh. Okay. Well, we are recording on Skype, and everything is where it's supposed to be. So, either way, we'll have a recording. Are we okay to continue, or?
Yeah, it's just if it's not working, nobody in the chat room will be able to hear us.
Okay, I'm just going to send a message out there into the ethers. And I'll just keep talking, because if I don't, nobody can tell if they can hear us. So, it was a balmy, I think 87-ish here today. And Tommy says he can hear us.
Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to not worry about it.
Okay, so let me go ahead and do this. Good evening, and welcome to the beautiful historical Marionette Theater. This evening, we're going to be looking back with fondness on a time when America was at war, and we tried out a few new things, some things that, changed history forever, and that's all in the movie that we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, and we also have a guest, if you didn't know. Surprise, surprise! Please take your seats. The show is about to begin. Oh, good evening, Mr. Smelly. Did you survive the heat?
Well, I'm still surviving, and I turned off my fans just so that I could have good sound, and I sure hope you appreciate it.
Oh, well, I mean, you didn't have to take your feet out of that tub of ice water.
Yeah. Actually, Tommy, have no fear. Amanda is here. But we're saving her voice because she's not feeling the greatest. And her voice is a little scratchy, so we're just conserving her so that she doesn't do a prima donna thing on us and oh, I can't talk. I have a cold.
Or, she was out at the game all night, right?
Yeah. She's probably wearing a scarf around her neck, even as we speak.
Oh, I'm sure. So, it's interesting this time of year where we're feeling like we have to pour ourselves into an ice cube tray to, get back into some shape. I do believe that movie going was a favorite thing back in the day, because those were some of the first public places to have air conditioning, don't you know?
Oh, I would give anything to be in an air-conditioned movie theater right now. But you know what? Why don't you give our guest a proper intro?
Oh, my goodness, folks. Well, how do I describe let me count my nouns and pronouns and oh, folks, this is a treat. We have a returning guest. It's been at least half a dozen times through these doors, so we've got to think about making a star on one of those guest make what do we call those things, dressing rooms. Yes, star one of those dressing rooms. So folks, if you would please give a round of applause for our Mid-Atlantic cosplay drag hostess, Demanda Martini.
Hello, friends. How are you?
Oh,
Hello.
Hi there.
We are all well, and how have you been dealing with the heat, Amanda?
Well, currently I am sitting in front of a mini swamp cooler. It is a delight and a treat. It also has an LED light, so it is currently flashing rainbow colors on me because it is Pride.
Oh, yes.
However, with all of this cold air and the singing gigs and all of just the things going on during Pride Month, I have gotten a sinus infection. So I finally went to the doctor yesterday. So I'm finally full of meds. So hopefully this will be out of here soon. But trust me, this voice was not great just a few hours ago.
Oh.
Well, we hope you feel better very, very, very soon, because I know this is a demanding time of year for Demanda.
It definitely is, but I also wouldn't miss talking with you lovely folks about one of my absolute favorite movies.
Oh.
How nice. And our movie tonight is A League of Their Own. And I got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Did either of you play sports, or more importantly, were you ever on a baseball or softball team?
Would you like me to go first, lady of the
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, being as I have firmly worn my nerd glasses for these 6 seasons, I will say no, I'm not athletically inclined. My version of sports was marching band, but I did try to play volleyball for a short breath of time. I managed to sprain my little finger, my pinky, doing what they call an overhanded serve, I think is what it's called. And that's about the extent of my athletic ability.
There you go. Amanda, how about you?
So I grew up in a very sporty household. My oldest brother played football. My second older brother and my younger brother played soccer for forever. But when we were all little, we all played Little League soccer. I was terrible. I was that cute little kid with the big mop of blonde hair who played with grass. And afterwards, my mother put me in tap dancing, which was a delight and a treat. But I did actually play on a softball team. And by play, we're going to put that in air quotes. So when I worked at a mortgage company in the early 2000s, it was a thing you could get a grant from our corporate office, and we got a grant from the county to do a softball team for our employees. And I was the person who organized it. So I was the person who filled out the paperwork, made sure all the money went where it was supposed to go, and ordered our t-shirts. So because I did all that, I got to get my own t-shirt. My friends, of course, were on the team. So I was always, as we said earlier, an athletic supporter. And one time they did let me try to hit the ball once. It did not go well.
Well, for myself, I did not play sports, but I did do things like throw a baseball around with my dad and a football and stuff like that. So I did learn how to throw, and my mother insisted one summer, I want you to do this just once, Toppy. Just once. I want you to be try baseball for a summer. We called it Kiwanis. I don't know what that means, but it was a league, I guess. Just once. Yeah.
I think it got like wrapped into 4-H these days.
Okay.
Yeah, because we used to have a Kiwanis club in my elementary school too.
Yeah. Well, so my mother insisted, and I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And so for one summer, I stuck it out, and I was terrible. I got 2 bloody noses on two different games, because of course they put me in the outfield. That's what you do with the kids that aren't so great. And those balls, we had an old bumbly field, and when those balls hit the ground and started rolling, you never knew when it was going to hit a mole mound and just pop right up into your face. That happened twice to me.
Oh my word!
Got a bloody nose twice, but I had 2 stellar moves. One is at an important point in a game, someone hit a fly ball that went way up into the sky and came down around my area, and by God, I caught it. And the other stellar move I did is that I retrieved a ball out in outfield, and I think there are a couple people on the bases, and what I should have done was throw to the ball, as we see in this movie, the girls who are in the outfield throw it to the closest girl, who then spins around and throws it to the next closest girl. Instead of doing that, for some reason, from the outfield, I gave that fucking ball the mightiest heave I could. And it went up into the air, and in this perfect arc, came down right where the third baseman was. He didn't have to move a foot, because it came right down to him, as if I mentally was telekinetically manipulating the ball into his hands. Nobody could believe it, least of all myself.
Wow! Oh, look at you!
I have no idea how that happened.
So as I mentioned, my family is a big soccer family, and now I don't know if you all saw on the social medias, but I was one of the models for the DC United Pride merchandise, and part of the general MLS Major League Soccer team. So it did get lots of likes on the social media. However, don't read the comments, because you never read the comments. But it was very cool. I was one of, I think, like 4 models that they used, which was really awesome. I was really happy to be able to do that. So that's the second thing that I've gotten to do with DC United. They've been really awesome to me and my family, which is great.
That's wonderful. Very wonderful.
Awesome.
I did see those photos, and I thought it was great. Let's see. I think, believe it or not, Gertie is here.
Oh, well,
to do the intro. Gertie?
Oh. What? I was not looking in Amanda's suitcase. I wasn't. Nobody can tell me I was.
Amanda had to mention those pills.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do the intro.
Yeah, maybe better.
In the 1940s, after America had entered World War II, the great American pastime, that's baseball, you idiots, was suffering the loss of numbers on the playing field as its athletes were sent into action overseas. But then one day, a candy maker had a stroke. Oh, of genius. She had a stroke of genius. He put the women left behind on the playing field in flattering uniforms, of course. That would be sure to draw a crowd. Friends will become enemies, the bonds of sisterhood challenged, and the spirit of our teamwork will uplift the downtrodden. So grab your suitcase and your train ticket. We're headed to the Windy City. It's time for A League of Their Own with Gina Davis and Tom Hanks. take it away, fellas and Amanda.
Okay, here we go.
Always a delight to see you, Gertie.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen? A pinch of golden oldies, and a smidgen of screaming. It's time for Matinee Minutia with your hosts DJ and Tommy.
Ooh. You know, was a first this evening, Toppy. Usually our showgirl is a little bashful when company comes calling.
I know. I think it was the pills. So welcome everyone, and welcome our special guest Amanda and DJ.
Mm-hmm.
This movie takes place in 1943.
It sure does.
So help us set the stage and what was going on in history and
right.
way back then.
Yeah, so some of you might be thinking that's been quite a while ago. Well, my dear sweet mother-in-law, Mama Billy, that was the year of her birth, and so my grandmother was just a young lady when the All-American Girls Professional Ball League came into existence. Now, the story of the All-American Girls Professional Ball League began 2 years into the U.S. involvement in World War II. Now, we were sort of late to the, well, I don't want to say party, but the game, because World War II was already underway in Europe before America decided to get on board. This was 4 years later. American involvement was instigated by the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. Now, in January of 43, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the UK Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and General Charles de Gaulle and Henry Giraud of the Free French Forces meet secretly at the Anfa Hotel in Casablanca. Yes, like the movie, in Morocco. And that was to plan the Allied European strategy for the next stage of the war. In February of that year, American movie studio executives agreed to allow the Office of War Information to censor movies because, Hollywood sends things overseas and we don't want anyone getting a hot tip about something that's about to happen. So in March, the British prototype Mark I Colossus, yes, there was a story called Colossus, a sci-fi story, computer is constructed.
Colossus.
Yeah.
Colossus, the Forbin project.
Mm-hmm. It's the world's first totally electronic programmable computing device.
A what? Programmable?
Uh-huh. And it was made to assist in cryptanalysis. Say that 3 times fast. Basically to break the code of German signals. Okay, so since we talk about entertainment, the 15th Academy Awards ceremony was held in Los Angeles that year. Isn't it usually? And Mrs. Miniver wins the Best Picture Award that year.
I think that was, I was about to say Joan Collins, but that's not who the actress of the day that Mommy Dearest was about.
Oh, Joan
Crawford.
Yes.
I believe that's a Joan Crawford movie.
Mm-hmm. So leading into the spring, because we're talking about baseball, and that is the season, in May of that year, of 43, the United States Army contracts with the University of Pennsylvania's Moore School to develop the computer, and I'm just going to spell it because I'm not sure how it's pronounced, ENIAC, ENIAC. Sounds like something from Wonder Woman. The first programmable electronic general-purpose digital computer. Okay. And getting it right up there to home plate, Norman Rockwell's illustration of Rosie the Riveter first appears on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post. So formally depicting women's new roles in society, helping out while the men are overseas and keeping our economy as well as our troops supplied. in May on the 30th. So on Memorial Day, which I don't think it was Memorial Day yet, but in May of 43, the first games of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League began. And the teams that played that day were South Bend playing in Rockford and Kenosha playing in Racine.
There you go. And that's exactly, those are the two teams, right, in our movie tonight.
They are.
South Bend and Racine.
Go Peaches!
Yeah, the Peaches. What was the other team called?
The Racine.
So there's Kenosha, and I can't remember the fourth one. The fourth one's the blue one.
Okay. All right. So we did have some celebrity voice in 1943 that we want to remember. You'll know a lot of these names. Janis Joplin, the musician. Sharon Tate, the actress from the 60s, the sex symbol, unfortunately, murdered by the followers of Charles Manson. Bliss Danner, an actress. By the way, she's the mother of Gwyneth Paltrow.
Well, she was just. I watched To Wong Fu the other night. She's in that. She's a delight.
Now, we have a listener that repeatedly tells us we get this wrong. Is it Bliss Danner?
It's Blythe.
Blythe, thank you. She is the mother of Gwyneth Paltrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind then. All right, George Harrison, you know him, Beatles. Lynn Redgrave, actress. Bobby Fischer, professional chess player. Yeah, he was famous. David Cronenberg, that weirdo body morph creepoid from Canada, the film director who did all kinds of creepy-ass movies. Bob Woodward, American journalist. I think he just passed away, as a matter of fact. Sharon Glass, actress from Cagney and Lacey.
She's also the mom on Queer as Folk, I believe. She's a delight.
Debbie!
Yeah. That's right. Joe Namath, professional baseball player and tea drinker. Colin Baker, UK actor. Doctor Who. Malcolm McDowell, another UK actor. Barry Manilow, the musician who started out singing in playing the piano in gay bathhouses to Bette Midler's vocals. Joan Van Ark, she is an actress best known for her role in my favorite all-time primetime soap, Knots Landing. Carly Simon, American musician. Geraldo Rivera, boo.
I was gonna say, where has Geraldo Rivera been lately? I have not heard or seen of him in probably a decade.
It may not be quite that long, but yeah, he went from his talk show to CNN. I think it was CNN, where he was there for a long time, and then there was another little scandal that involved him making something up, as I recall, and he fell from favor. Edward Herrmann, actor. Mick Jagger, the famous singer, musician. Robert De Niro, famous actor. Sylvester McCoy, another Doctor Who. Gloria Gaynor, phantasmagorial gay icon musician. And the director of our movie tonight. And DJ, you want to tell us, League of Their Own came to us in what year? I can't remember.
Yes,
and
sir.
What was it competing against?
Oh, so A League of Their Own came out in 92. I was a freshman in high school. Yay! And some of the other films that came out that year, and you might be surprised to know we have a winner chicken dinner because this is a movie in the top 10. I know, I almost fell from my chair. So the top 3 that year were Batman Returns, and that brought in $162 million. Had The Dark Knight coming back to us, and Demanda, tell me, do you remember who was the lead in that one? That wasn't Michael Keaton at the time, was
Yes,
it?
it is. It's Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Danny DeVito. That's
Aha!
with Catwoman.
So Catwoman, okay. And then we have another sequel. Number 2 in the box office that year was Lethal Weapon 3, bringing in 144 million. I can't remember, but one of those movies had an exploding toilet. And then Sister Act, our dear sweet friend who was the bartender on Star Trek The Next Generation, Whoopi Goldberg, who some of you may not realize was actually in one of Penny Marshall's films. Jumpin' Jack Flash was a Penny Marshall film, and Whoopi Goldberg was in Sister Act, which brought in 139 million that year. And that's a personal favorite. Now, putting things into perspective, A League of Their Own, it actually was number 7 at the box office. It brought in 107 million. But just so you know, the movie that did one better involved a, well, very brilliant and, what would you say, vivacious lady in a chair being interrogated. Basic Instinct brought in 117 million. So it was one better, and the film that was just below A League of Their Own was an animated feature with the voices of several people, including Robin Williams. Aladdin brought in 99 million in 1992.
Wow. Boy, that was a pretty good year for movies.
Yeah.
And I think our movie night offered very, very different from all the others. Offered just a breath of fresh air, a nice tearjerker, a lovely comedy with heart. Very different from all the others. And I give all credit to our director tonight. Do we want to take the midway break, or do we have a trailer to play?
I don't actually, unfortunately. Okay. I wasn't sure what we would do for a little intermission here, but I have an idea. We could talk about things that are summer-like, and there's a perfect chance to have an intermission here, because what do we do at a baseball game? Why, we go and we have a little snack, we have a treat. So, Toppy, I thought we would take a brief moment and we could talk about our favorite summer foods, and I'll go first. We'll talk about, what else do you have at a baseball game? A hot dog. So, are we ketchup or mustard on our hot dog, Toppy?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Both.
Okay. So, let's see here. Do we relish on these, or?
Sure.
Yes.
Do we prefer dill or sweet?
Dill.
Dill.
Dill, okay. I was going to say, Demanda, if you had mentioned sweet, I would have had to have questioned some of your choices, but... now, we have this rather wonderful brand of hot dog up here in the New York State. They're called Zweigels, Zweigels, and no, they're not a sponsor, but growing up, they were a phenomenon to me, because when I left New York State for the first time, I was in search of this marvelous treat. They were not your typical hot dog. They were a little on the spicy side, not like jalapeno spicy, but they call them White Hots here. Now, other places I've heard them called Hot Links, but do you have White Hots in the Mid-Atlantic there, Demanda?
I have never heard of them, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist here.
Oh, okay. Toppy, I'm sure you're familiar with White Hots.
Well, I did live in Rochester for a long time, so yeah. Zweigels and the White Hots. Very familiar with. At least here in Ithaca, I want to say Zweigels is a brand where you can buy White Hots right here in Ithaca.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the Zweigels brand.
And do we prefer regular hot dog rolls, or do we get fancy? Because some of those hot dog rolls don't seem big enough, depending on the kind you get. Like, we'll get hoagie rolls sometimes because they're a little larger, But then there's also this type of roll that I like, and it's not necessarily made for hot dogs, but they're called New England style, where they resemble a piece of sandwich bread a little bit more with the way that they're shaped and cut and toasted.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I prefer a bun that covers the length of my wiener.
The way I just laughed out loud, but I was on mute.
Yes.
And then, of course, there's just all your bread options. Like, I don't know if there's such a thing as a sourdough hot dog bun, but I love sourdough.
Yeah.
But I do also really love this thing called potato bread. Have you had potato bread, Amanda and Toppy?
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's more carbs for your carbs, but it's fine. Potato bread is great. Here's my other, speaking of potatoes, my other favorite, all-time favorite summer food is the potato salad my grandmother made forever. And my mother has made it forever, and I now make it. And it is a potato salad that features mustard and mayo and eggs, and a lot of celery and a lot of dill, and some dill pickle relish. And but you don't. It's not a super creamy mayo based potato salad. There is mayo in it, but it is not the star of the salad. The potatoes are, and it's and lots of parsley, and salt and pepper. It is the most. I've never had. First of all, there is no such thing as a good store-bought potato salad. Can we agree on this?
You know, my husband's grandfather ran a grocery store in his small little town, so there's plenty of family recipes that have been passed on, and everyone talks about how no one makes it like Grandpa did, so I'm sure that they would agree with you. But I want to, after Demanda has her say about that, I want to ask about the types of potato salad. Demanda, are you in agreement about the store brand?
I would agree. The best potato salads I have had have either been my mother's or when you go to a restaurant that like makes their own and you know that they make their own.
And so about the potato salad, and we'll get back to our movie, because, you know, some folks in the audience are throwing tomatoes. Anyways, would you say mayo or mustard in your potato salad?
I like both.
Yeah?
Yeah, in our family recipe, mustard is right in there. It's not a lot. There's definitely more mayo than mustard, but mustard is a component.
Mm-mm. I'll agree with you on that. So long as there is some mustard, I'm good with that. I just don't like only mayo. It's like
No. That's what's worst about these commercial brands. Is like, I'm going to boil some potatoes. They may or may not be boiled enough, and I'm going to mix it with some shreds of carrot and mayo. And it's a potato salad.
Well, and don't forget the trend these days, Toppy. People put raisins in their potato salad.
Over my dead body.
So
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
All right.
Oh.
Well, why don't I get it talking about the director? Because as far as I'm concerned, my hat's off to her for this movie. Our director tonight was born in 1943 to Mother Marjorie, who ran a dance school called the Marjorie Marshall Dance School. Our director tonight began her career as a tap dancer at the age of 3. Her father was a producer and director of industrial films. She grew up at 3235 Grand Concourse, the Bronx, in a building which was also, coincidentally, the childhood home of Neil Simon, Patty Chayefsky, Calvin Klein, and Ralph Lauren. How about that? That's a coincidence.
What a fun group of neighbors.
Seriously, and I bet they were all really weird kids too. Don't you think so? So her older brother. I'm sorry. What's that?
I was saying, most definitely they were all probably like weird kids, especially like Calvin Klein and Ralph Lauren. They were like fashion kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's our director, a rough and tumble little girl.
Right?
She must have been. Now, her older brother was a writer and producer in Hollywood. Her first husband was actor, later director Rob Reiner, Meathead, from All in the Family. She first appeared on television in a commercial for Head and Shoulders, beautifying shampoo. She was hired to play a girl with stringy, unattractive hair, and Farrah Fawcett was hired to play a girl with thick and bouncy hair. She lost the role of Witchy Poo for H.R. Pufnstuf, produced by Sid and Marty Krofft, to Billy Hayes, the only other actress who auditioned for the part. She was considered for the role of Gloria Bunker Stivic on All in the Family. But she lost that role to Sally Struthers. She lent her voice to Ms. Botts, the babysitter bandit, on the first produced episode of The Simpsons, making her the first official guest star to ever appear on the show. But she is best known and will always be remembered for her role of Laverne DeFazio on the television sitcom Laverne and Shirley from 1976 all the way until 1983, receiving 3 nominations for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the director of A League of Their Own, Penny Marshall. Her career arc was definitely a family affair with her older brother, because in 1970, when Penny Marshall's older brother, Gary Marshall, became the executive producer of the television series The Odd Couple, he cast his younger sister, Penny, to play a permanent cast member by the name of Myrna, the secretary. She played the role for 4 years. In 1974, Penny Marshall got her first co-starring role on a TV series when James L. Brooks and Alan Burns cast Marshall as Janice Dreyfus, sister-in-law to Paul Dreyfus, played by actor Paul Sand, in the series Paul Sand in Friends and Lovers. It aired on CBS television Saturday nights beginning in September of 74. Despite good reviews and decent ratings, it was canceled mid-season. But Brooks and Burns, along with studio head Grant Tinker, were so impressed with Marshall's comedic talent that the following season they hired Marshall and actress Mary Kay Place to play Mary Richards' new neighbors, Polly and Sally Joe, on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. In 1975, Gary Marshall, who was by then the creator and part-time writer for Happy Days, cast Marshall and Cindy Williams to guest appear on an episode of the show. The installment, which was titled A Date with Fonzie, aired on November 11th, 1975, and introduced the characters Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney, played by Marshall and Williams, respectively. In that episode, Laverne and Shirley were a pair of wisecracking brewery workers who were the dates for Fonzie, Henry Winkler, and Richie Ron Howard. The pair were such a hit with the studio audience that Gary Marshall decided to co-create and star them in the very successful spin-off Laverne and Shirley. With the encouragement of her brother, again, Marshall became interested in directing. And while starring on Laverne and Shirley, she began with directing 4 episodes of that show. In 1979, she directed several episodes of the short-lived sitcom Working Stiffs. Good God, I remember that, starring Michael Keaton and James Belushi. She soon moved on to theatrical films. Her first film directorial job was the crime comedy Jumpin' Jack Flash, 1986, starring Whoopi Goldberg. Marshall described her leap into directing feature films as very hard to learn, likening it to cramming 4 years of college into one semester. She's speaking of Jumpin' Jack Flash here. While on the set all day, she spent her nights planning out the rest of the film, trying to get it finished on time. Marshall also added that Whoopi Goldberg would take her aside and calm her down if she was looking exhausted that day. Isn't that nice? Marshall went on to direct several successful feature films from the mid-1980s onwards, including, oh my God, one of my favorite movies of all time, Big, 1988, starring Tom Hanks. And that was the first film directed by a woman to gross over $100 million US. Then she directed Awakenings in 1990, starring Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. Following that, in 92, A League of Their Own, our movie tonight. And in 1996, she directed The Preacher's Wife, starring Denzel Washington and Whitney Houston, which was a remake of a black and white movie of a different title, but Cary Grant was in the role of Denzel Washington. Anyways, director Penny Marshall was inspired by the 1987 TV documentary A League of Their Own about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. She had never heard of the league and contacted the film's creators, Kelly Candela, and Kim Wilson, to collaborate with her with screenwriters Babalu Mendel and Lowell Gans on producing a screenplay for 20th Century Fox, but Fox passed on the script. Marshall signed with Sony Pictures, which was eager to produce it. In 1991, Penny Marshall was awarded the Women in Film Crystal Award. And before Penny Marshall passed away in 2018, she published her memoir, My Mother Was Nuts. I think she did a handful of really good movies. And I think A League of Their Own, in my personal opinion, was her best. It showed how much she could do, because that movie was complex.
I was going to say, it really was, and I really feel like it stands the sort of test of time. She really put the work into it to try to make it as accurate as possible while keeping it entertaining. I just remember, because again, I've been obsessed with this movie since I saw it in 1992 in the movie theaters. I remember the first time I saw it, it was summer of 1992. We were in Utah and was visiting our cousins, and we went to go see it, and I absolutely loved it. I went because I was a huge Madonna fan, but then it was a huge thing. But I remember, over my years of reading about the movie and hearing about it, that she really made sure that every single actress in the movie could play ball. It wasn't just, hey, you're a face, you can come on here and you do this thing. She's like, no, everybody has to play ball. We're not doing stunt doubles and all of this stuff. The infamous scene where Alice slides into the base and she has that big purple bruise on her leg. That's a real bruise that then they put in the movie. They were actually playing ball when they were filming.
Oh my God. That's a great piece of trivia. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, that black and blue mark, that looked painful.
Yeah, it looked bad. But again, she did such a good job, and again, finding the right actresses to be in this film and to portray these women, in my opinion, as accurately as they could in 1992. I do also remember stories and reading about, in fact, I think Rosie O'Donnell may have even said that Rosie really kind of wanted to play up the homosexuality and lesbian aspects of her character. Because listen, Doris is a lesbian, and for 1992, it just was not something that they were willing to do, which is unfortunate. But I understand it was of the time. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying it was of the time. But yeah, no, it's still one of my absolute favorite movies. Me and my friends for a couple of years. I obviously stopped when lockdown happened, but we get together. I usually make something for dinner and we watch the movie. But we don't really need to watch the movie because we literally just quote the movie the entire time to each other, and we have planned out who is playing which characters, and it's just one of my favorite movies.
Oh my goodness! I need to get to some of your parties. That's a fun story, and so this really sounds like maybe one of your most favorite movies ever.
Yes, absolutely. It is definitely in the top 10. It's hard for me to like whittle down when you get to like 5, but like it is definitely in my top 10 of movies.
Last night was my very first time watching it ever. I swear to God it was, and I don't quite know how I managed to just never see it, but I never did. It may have been because it was about sports, and I just didn't feel like.
See, and like I understand that, but it's ladies' sports, so it's ladies, and a female-focused film is always going to get me interested.
There you go. And
also Madonna.
Yeah, and I will say this: it absolutely does stand up to the test of time, because I watched it last night, and there's been a lot of years between now and when that movie was made, and it stands up. All the performances are stellar, and the direction is tight, and the cinematography is astonishing. The film is in color, but the color is so perfectly matching old photos, color photos.
Yeah, it almost has that sepia tone to it.
Yeah, and you really feel the set designers and decorators. You feel like you're back in '43 without a doubt.
Right, and like so again, when the first time I saw the movie, I remember when you get to the end of the championship baseball game, and then they go back to the present day. I was like, oh, I forgot this was a movie within a movie. Like, you get so wrapped up in the story that you 100% forget that, oh, this is a flashback. This whole movie has been a flashback, and that there's more story to tell.
Yeah, it starts out. I don't know if we could say it was present day when it's, because no, it wasn't present day. It was more
like 87 instead of 92, but as present day as
But we see Gina Davis's character Dorothy, or Dottie as she's known in the movie, as a much older woman who is going to go to the opening of an exhibit of the women's team, the women's league, and she doesn't really want to do it because she feels like nobody remembers me. It wasn't important. Who cares? And her daughter, who realizes, oh yeah, it's important, makes her go. And she arrives, and then she looks around, and the camera closes in on Dottie as she starts to remember, and then the rest of the movie until the very end is in 1943. And it draws you right in that way. It draws you right in.
And I want to draw attention to two little things. involving the beginning of the film. The first one is a piece of trivia, but if you will notice, the house that Dottie is in when she's in quote-unquote present day is the same house that was used in the Dan Aykroyd film, My Stepmother is an Alien.
Oh my goodness.
And it may also be the same house that was used for the Steve Martin movie about Father of the Bride.
It's the Father of the Bride house.
See,
Yes.
I think that's where I know, because I knew I'd seen that house before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
Well, because in Father of the Bride, the movie or the house is much more of a character,
Mhm.
and like you definitely see it a lot more.
And so the other thing that I want to draw people's attention to, and this will be a point of discussion, is, and Amanda, you may be more in a position to answer this since you've seen the film several times, but there was a moment when Dottie had been told that she's going to this reunion and her daughter leads her out to the car and her grandchildren are outside playing basketball. She goes over to the older grandchild and gives him some encouragement, tells him to let his brother win, and then she tells him to go back and the younger brother to come on over. And what did she say to the younger brother, folks?
She says, "Get him." Yeah.
Yeah, give him hell or something like that.
And how is that interesting? Because it parallels her relationship with her sister Kit. I would say that it was almost a learning experience.
It's definitely the foreshadowing of the end. Again, I feel like I should say spoilers, but I'm like, who hasn't seen this movie? Well, Tommy didn't see it until yesterday. So, but yeah, like it because it's at the end of the movie, it's did she drop the ball or did she let go of the ball is the sort of question. And so from that first scene, you're definitely kind of like, she let go of the ball because her sister wanted it more. That's what her sister wanted, and she wanted to go back to the farm and raise a family.
Yeah, and so that's a good question. Do you think that's really what she wanted? Because that's what she did, but do you think that's what she wanted?
I feel like she, as the older sister, this is all my opinion and conjecture, and someone who's seen the movie a million times. I feel like no, she loved playing ball. She wanted to play ball. She wanted to be there, but because of the time she was in, the fact that she was already married, the fact that she was the older daughter, on this dairy, and all of that stuff, that she felt that she had obligations and responsibilities that she needed to do, and she felt that, whereas Kit is the younger Kit. Again, it's kind of the when you have royalty, the older child becomes the next monarch while the other kid can go fuck all or whatever. So I feel like she felt that societal pressure and responsibility to go back with her husband, who she did love, and raise a family and go back to the farm and the dairy and help with the business and all of that. However, I don't know whether, because again, Toppy has only seen the movie once, but also I feel like Penny Marshall made the correct edit to the movie, because there is a romantic subplot that they did remove and edit and left more fizzling on the surface rather than get into. But there was supposed to be a romantic subplot with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis. And that scene where she's crying after Betty Spaghetti's husband dies and her husband comes home, she's also supposed to be crying because she just kissed Tom Hanks. And that scene was filmed, and I can't remember if they cut it before or if it just didn't test well in like preview screenings. But I think it's the correct choice to just sort of leave that kind of like flirtatious friendship that she had with Jimmy Dugan, and just let that be what it was, instead of making things more complicated to make it like steamier.
Well, you know what? I didn't know that. bit of trivia at all. But I absolutely am happy that they chose to take that, whatever it was or how much ever it was part of the movie, out. It didn't need to be there for sure, because the when they finally when Tom Hanks' character, who plays the manager of this team, has to finally say goodbye to Gina Davis's character Dottie. You get everything there. That they truly cared for one another, and that it was a difficult goodbye, because they had experienced so much together. And I think that was, that was enough for me. I'm glad they didn't do.
Again, I think Penny Marshall and the team of whoever else had a hand in that decision definitely made the right call for that movie, or for the way the storyline went.
Yeah, DJ, what's your history with this movie?
Well, I did see it more recently from when it was new. I did not see it in the theater, but I want to say that I probably either saw it on rental or on one of the movie channels. But I do remember sitting in the living room at Mom and Dad's house and watching that with my dad. My dad was a pretty remarkable person in that, although he grew up in the 50s, he seemed to be more of an equal-minded person. I mean, he went through the change in his home life where when he was no longer able to work, they decided that it was better for him to stay at home with the kids because it was too much money to keep two cars on the road. So he had to swallow his pride, and, his wife is the breadwinner of the family. But, I think that this movie had a profound impact on a lot of people, and as Gina Davis has said in some interviews, there really are not many movies about women in sports, and we'll get back to that in a moment. But, Gina Davis, through the experience of being in this movie, actually founded her own research firm to affect the presence of how women are portrayed in media and minorities. So this was a very important part of that history. And I want to draw attention just to one little other thing. We were talking about how the two sisters had to say goodbye at the end. And, the younger sister was going to have her life there in the bigger city. And she encouraged her sister in the beginning of the film to join baseball, and she basically said, what else are we going to do? It's our chance to get away. There's a wonderful scene in the film shortly after Gina Davis and Lori Petty's character are traveling with John Lovitz. They go to Fort Collins, Colorado to pick up this girl whose name was Marla. And the only thing that they knew about her was she wasn't a pinup girl, because of course, after meeting her, the scout was going to send them back. They were going to go back on the train and leave her be. And they got the idea that she's not coming because she's not pretty. And Amanda, what did Dottie and Kit do as soon as they found out she wasn't in the running?
They're like, you mean you're not taking her because she's not pretty? They immediately dropped their suitcase. They're like, no. Because Marla was such a good player, they were like, no, she needs to come and try out. And again, like John Lovitz, the scout, he's like, well, not only do we want girls who can play, we want girls who are pretty, because we understand that to sell these tickets to they need to see something, which is gross, but still true.
Yeah.
And there's a wonderful moment where Marla's father pleads.
Oh, it's such a cute scene.
Oh, he pleads with her, and I don't remember the actor's name, but he reminds me of not Art Carney. Jackie Gleason. He reminds me of Jackie Gleason a lot. But,
Yeah.
you know,
I've seen him in a million things, but I can't think of
oh
his
my
name.
goodness. But he pleads with the scout. He says to him, you know, don't punish her for my doing. I raised her as a boy because I didn't know any better.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Kit, the younger sister, and this movie, the long and short of the movie is it is the story of the two sisters, really.
Mm-hmm.
More than anything else, it's what holds it. It's the glue to everything. Gina Davis's and Lori Petty, their characters. That's the glue. But y'all probably remember at the end of the movie who comes in with the most children and grandchildren. Kit.
Yes, hubby made that analysis too. It's like for the one who was talking about going back to the family, and you know, things had a little turn there.
So number one, I'm gonna just put my 2 cents in. So number one, we don't know how many children that Dottie has.
True.
Again, we know that she's living with a daughter who has 2 children, but we don't know how many children she has. And again, the baseball thing wasn't important to her, quote unquote. Whereas Kit was the star of the first season. So obviously, oh, grandma's got her thing. We've all got to go. So again, it looked like maybe she had like 2 or 3 like adult children and like their husbands and wives, and then they all had like 2 or 3 kids. Like that's what that looked like to me. Where it's like, oh no, she planned this whole family vacation that everyone's coming. And also, I'm trying to remember where it's at, but the Hall of Fame's in Chicago, right?
I think it was supposed to be Cooperstown.
Yeah, which is in New York, right?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But
Because I'm also just saying if she still lived on the Pacific Northwest, but Kit stayed in the Chicago area because she's staying in Racine, then she's also technically maybe closer.
Yeah.
Where more family can go.
Right. She had better access to get out this way. So yeah.
But again, as someone who has watched and studied this movie for many, many years, but I also want to say, because we're to just sort of mention some of the other actors. So we mentioned Madonna. This is one of Rosie O'Donnell's first films.
Oh yes.
And keeping the family tradition alive, Tracy Reiner, who plays Betty Spaghetti in the film and has by far one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the entire movie, is also Penny Marshall's daughter.
I wondered. I mean, with a name like Reiner, I figured she was related to the Reiner family, but I didn't know it, in what form. So that's Penny's daughter.
Yes.
Okay. Tracy Reiner, Betty Spaghetti. Just to go back just a tad. At the end of the movie, how do you like that drama that Penny Marshall fashioned? Because they come into the museum and start, and we carefully watch Gina Davis go through the exhibit, and her first stop is to look at this gigantic photo of the manager, Jimmy Dugan, played by Tom Hanks, and on the giant photo, it shows that he's passed, and then she's looking at a photo of her younger sister, Kit, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, she's passed probably too. How sad. But no. At the exact right moment, in walks Kit Keller with her entire family. And we watch as Gina Davis and Lori Petty have this final... Well, actually, it's not Gina Davis and Lori Petty.
Right.
Isn't that funny? Because I'm so convinced that it was them.
Right. That they found these perfect actresses to play everybody older. So also, again, if you're in the beginning of the movie, Dottie's daughter does say, "Well, Aunt Kit's gonna be there."
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't remember that. I see. I was I was thinking. Uh, I think perhaps what they wanted me to think, which was, she's passed. But then no, she walks in, and you have that. I mean, I was sobbing. Come
I
on,
mean, as you
don't
should.
cry
The
at that.
movie is so
at
good.
that scene.
Yeah, there's
That's
no crying in
exactly-
baseball.
No
Tommy.
No crying in
I
baseball.
cry so much in this movie.
That's that
funny.
saying is so iconic. I have
funny.
a little fort. It's a cardboard house that my cats play in, and it's made to look like a little baseball dugout. It says on the side of my cat fort, "There's no crying in baseball."
Oh my goodness.
That's funny. That's funny as hell. Well, there's so much to talk about in this movie.
I know.
Uh,
I also wanted to bring up that for the Téa Leoni has a cameo. I looked at her IMDb. It's her third film ever. It's her third credit on IMDb. Téa Leoni, who was a Madam Secretary, also had, why can't I remember the name of the show that she had on NBC in the 90s. Anyway, she's the first baseman for the Racine team. She has like one kind of like close up, and she hits once in the final game.
Oh,
That's that's like when you see her.
all right, it's an ensemble cast.
It really is.
Everybody, well, let's just say most of the main part of the ensemble cast all have their moments. Does anybody's little moments stand out to you? I thought Madonna was incredible as All the Way May.
Yeah. I mean, not a day goes by that I do not look at someone and go, "What if at a key moment of the game, all of a sudden my uniform bursts open, my bosoms pop out?"
Yeah.
Not a day goes by that I do not quote that line.
But she had to do a wide range of emotions. There was a moment that she was seriously angered, not like her mock angry.
Yeah, no. You
That
go
was-
back to Big Mr. Chocolate Man and you tell him I'm taking him down or whatever that line is. Yeah, she's great.
So I think she stands out to me maybe most of all because I just didn't know she was that good. Who for you guys was a little standout moment for the movie? Any character?
Oh,
Just is the most memorable for you?
my favorite character is Marla. And
Yeah. What a hitter.
Oh, well, and I want to say that her name was Margaret Kavanaugh.
Megan.
Megan Kavanaugh. I got the M right. But my favorite moment in the whole movie was when they go to the Roadhouse.
Yes.
And here, this shy girl who's been dragged from the country corner of Colorado, who's been told that she doesn't have any looks, is just trying to figure out how to cope in the evening when everybody else is being social. And it's demand to censure the good at the quotes. What does Madonna say when she's asked what they did to Marla?
We just gave her a dress and a lot of liquor.
Because she's not only overcome her social awkwardness, but she's found kindred spirit, and she's even singing the blues to him in this Roadhouse.
It's so good. I'm
Yeah.
singing a Nelson, ain't I?
Yeah. That was a great moment. And by the way, that whole scene,
Yeah, the whole Roadhouse scene is great.
they do that swing. I guess it's swing,
Yeah.
but it's aggressive swing. I mean,
Yeah, it's so. And also, one of my favorite throwaways by Rosie O'Donnell in that scene is, "Oh yeah. She used to work at my dad's club. She was the dancer and I was the bouncer."
Now, did you get the impression, though, that this club that her dad owned wasn't the dance hall that she referred to it as?
Well, yay! Oh no, it's taxi dancing.
Oh.
No. We all know what that we all. So because even the dad later he kind of makes a joke at May's expense when they're getting after they lose, And they're getting up like, oh yeah, you don't want to go back to what you were doing before. And like you can kind of see it, at least in my opinion, you can kind of see it like in her face. She's like, no, I'm not going back to your bar, and I'm not getting back up on those tables.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, there's so my favorite scene again. So my again, another great Rosie O'Donnell quote is when Steelwell Angel is acting up on the bus, and she's like, Evelyn, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to kill your son. And they start chasing the kid around with the bat. And then Rosie O'Donnell, as she's running, you can hear her just go, May, don't use my bat, use Marla's, it's heavier.
Yeah. By the way, I noticed that there were so many screamingly funny lines that were like thrown away. Not thrown away, but you could easily miss because they came at the very end of a scene, or the focus wasn't in on that. You just hear the line. I don't know. It was like they were snuck in.
So another great one, which again my friends and I use. So if you're in a terribly boring conversation, and you just look at your friend and you go, "And this with a war on." From the guy playing in the movie with John Lovitz, and he's like, I don't know why I keep sitting next to these people. And he looks at them, he's like, if I were you, I would kill myself.
Yeah, that's his character was a great one with those. I'll call them throwaway lines.
Yes,
that are like fast, and if you're not really listening, you might miss it. But there are a lot of those lines are hysterical.
For sure. Again, so again, like Rosie O'Donnell's character, because I believe Rosie has said that Penny let her improv some of them because she was a stand-up comic. So like other great ones. So like in my family, if you have a task to do and you only have like one more thing left to do, Ellen Sue, it looked good to me, Ellen Sue. One more. Like it's like it's so good. I'm also screaming. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I also thought that probably John Lovitz's some of his lines were probably ad-libbed.
Yeah. The scene where like I think a cow screams. He was like, "Will you shut up?"
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
So that was not only ad-libbed. Like the cow just was loud during the take, and that. He didn't stop the scene. He just yelled at the cow and kept going.
Yeah. So many great characters and so many good actors behind them made this movie memorable for me, and also the main story of the two sisters and their reunion at the end just left me blubbering. So, and also the score, it's everything you'd want it to be. It pulls out all the stops right when it should, and so for me it just ended up being more emotional than I certainly ever thought it would be.
And you mentioned the fact that Penny Marshall's former co-star from Laverne and Shirley had a cameo role in this film. He's the guy that played Squiggy.
Lenny or Squiggy? I don't know which.
It's Squiggy. And because he had the slicked back dark hair, he was one of the announcers at the games. Well, there is also another Laverne and Shirley co-star in this film, and it was during the Roadhouse scene. The man who danced with Madonna was Eddie Mecca, who played the big ragu on Laverne and Shirley.
No, I did not catch that. No, didn't catch that.
But it should be mentioned that there was a short-lived television series that aired shortly after this came out in theaters.
Do we know anything about it?
It only lasted 6 episodes. Penny Marshall did direct one of the episodes, and they managed to keep 2, maybe 3 of the original cast, which, of course, coincidentally, maybe not, included Tracy Reiner as Betty Spaghetti, and Megan Cavanagh as Marla Hooch. They recast Tom Hanks's role, and of course everybody else. But yeah, there's about 6 episodes out there, and those of you with a Roku device, if you search A League of Their Own, you'll actually find it at least during June, available to watch. And more recently, there was an Amazon original series that took not a turn, but adapted the story. And as Demanda was talking about earlier, saying that there were characters that they did not portray as vividly in the film, like what was Rosie's character? Doris was supposed to be a lesbian, and there were no people of color in A League of Their Own. However, in the Amazon original series, which only got one season, they do incorporate stories with persons of color, and there are lesbians represented. So if you're curious, go out there and check it out. I've only seen 2 or 3 episodes, and I have to wonder why it got canceled, because I thought it was pretty good.
Okay, I never saw it. Any other final words? DJ, I did think the 2 miscellaneous trivia things, one about Demi Moore and also the Harvey Kennedy Company. Do you want to read those? Because I thought they were interesting.
Oh, yes, sirree. So, as you may know from watching A League of Their Own, the sponsor or the owner of the teams in the film were represented by a fictional company calling themselves the Harvey Bar Company, which may be an homage to Hershey. And Mr. Harvey is played by Penny Marshall's brother, Gary Marshall. Now, in reality, in 1943, the All-American Girls Professional Ball League was actually owned by the Wrigley Chewing Gum Company, of course, owners of Chicago's Wrigley Field.
There you go.
And the other thing is that while the casting was being done for the film by Penny Marshall, the people that were in the running for the characters included Demi Moore, who was going to play Dottie. However, she recently became pregnant and not available. And after it was decided Demi was not to be in the role, they turned to Robin Wright, who, of course, was an aspiring musician and actress herself at the time. But Robin decided that she didn't want to share the screen with Madonna. And so here enters Gina Davis. And I think the world is better for it because, as I said before, through the experience of making this and being in this film, Gina Davis founded an organization that helped us to identify areas that we could improve in the media where women were represented.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it was so much that Robin didn't want to share the screen with Madonna, more that Madonna would have murdered Robin if she would have gotten 10 feet of her.
Okay.
She wrote a whole song about her called "Thief of Hearts" on the Erotica album. Just saying.
Didn't they share a guy?
And by share,
yeah.
Again, according to Madonna, Robin Wright stole Sean Penn from her.
Okay, I see. Just what we got to end soon, but why? Given, in my opinion, how Madonna just was outstanding in this movie, do we know why she didn't make more movies? Many singers.
Because she's not a good actress.
She was here.
So like she needs a very specific role. So any movie made after this. So her next thing would have been Evita, which she did win a Golden Globe for, which I think she was good in, but most musical theater people would say that she was terrible in. And Madonna did have a lot of things that she changed in the story of Evita. And I should say the musical Evita, not necessarily the story of Eva Perón, which again a lot of people didn't agree with, which is fine. But after that, Madonna really didn't make a lot of good movies. She made a lot of really good albums, but I feel like she just didn't make good choices as far as like what movie projects that she went after. And again, in my opinion, she has a very specific movie. Like, I love Who's That Girl because I understand that it is nothing but camp. It is not meant to be serious. But people hate it because it's terrible, and I get it. She was great in Dick Tracy. Again, she needs like very specific things, and I feel like once she got Evita, and it became like, I am Madonna, and I need to make a movie for myself instead of there is this very specific role that I think I'm good for. It just didn't work out for her, and I'm saying this as a very huge Madonna fan.
And
okay.
and Demanda, I implore you, this piece of trivia. Do you know what Who's That Girl is a remake of?
I don't know Who's That Girl is a remake
Oh
of.
my goodness! Here's a piece of classic film trivia that may interest you to go find the original. It was a film with Katharine Hepburn called Bringing Up Baby.
Oh, I have heard of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that either, DJ. I did not know that.
Oh, so Toppy, we are getting close to the end of the show. We're out here at the lobby. And, Gertie, will you get out of Demanda's bag? I thought you were looking
What?
for your keys.
Oh, okay.
By the way,
Yeah.
I don't think you're fooling me. I've noticed how the key jiggles in the lock, and I've asked you to get that fixed.
Oh, come on. Holy cow. One thing at a time.
Well, Toppy, we do this thing that helps us figure out what's coming up next. If you would, go over there and reach up and grab that bag of coins for us.
Yeah, the magic coins.
Oh, and you know what? Before we do that, I'm sorry. There's a little thing we do where we talk about other things you might enjoy if you liked this movie. So we'll get back to the coins in a sec. So this is our snack tray. And I'm going to recommend a film from 2002 in the spirit of women and sports. This is Bend It Like Beckham. It's a UK film from 2002. It's a comedy drama. It's about two ambitious girls, despite their parents' wishes, have their hearts set on careers in professional football. Now, since this is the UK, it's what we call soccer, but it's football there. And it stars Parminder Nagra and a very well-known English actress, Keira Knightley. 2002's Bend It Like Beckham.
It was one of her first starring roles, Keira Knightley.
Oh.
I'm not familiar with it. Demanda, does our movie tonight make you want to suggest something that
Yes.
if people liked A League of Their Own, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do. So my recommendation, it's another, I would say maybe like top 15, not top 10, but top 15 movies. But it is the 2000 movie Bring It On, which again, women in sports. It's a cheerleading movie, very funny, a solid ensemble piece, starring Kirsten Dunst and Gabrielle Union. It is about cheerleaders in Southern California. One is from an all-black school. The other is from a predominantly white school. And you find out that the white cheerleaders have been stealing their cheers from the black students. It's such a good movie. Again, highly quotable. Lots of fun. And also just like, yay, ladies, kind of a thing. So I love it. It is a great movie. If you have not seen it, would definitely recommend.
Very nice. So I guess my recommendation is, like tonight's movie, a period piece, and it's The Natural, 1984 American sports film directed by Barry Levinson. It stars Robert Redford, quite a cast: Robert Redford, Robert Duvall, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger, Wilford Brimley, I got the beaties, Barbara Hershey, and Richard Farnsworth. And it's about the experiences of Roy Hobbs, an individual with great natural baseball talent, spanning the decades of Roy's career. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Close, and it was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress Basinger. And it just captures a lot of the same feelings. The cinematography is awesome. You feel like you're back in the past, and it's kind of I really thought A League of Their Own was a beautiful movie in the way it was shot, and The Natural maybe even more. Just a beautifully shot period piece. So that's my recommendation. The Natural.
Okay. So now we're going to let you know what's coming up next. Go ahead and grab that bag of coins, sir.
All right, here you go.
Okay, we're going to put that in the slot.
Oop, womp, womp.
All right, that roll over there. And Amanda, I think that landed by your cute little tootsies there. Will you pick the capsule up for us?
Sure.
Okay, and if you'll go ahead and open that up.
All right. Thank you. Well, looky there. It's a 2000 TV movie drama. Common Ground, it's called. 3 short stories dealing with the theme of homosexuality. In A Friend of Dorothy, a woman joins the Navy during the 1950s and discovers lesbianism. In Mr. Roberts, a teacher in a 70s classroom struggles with his closeted gay status. Finally, in Amos and Andy, a father wrestles with his own emotional acceptance of a present-day wedding between his son and another man. With an all-star cast including Brittany Murphy, Jason Priestley, Margot Kidder, and Ed Asner. From 2000, a TV movie, Common Ground.
All right, and when will we be back in these hallowed halls, Toppy?
Looks like Friday, June 5th.
Oh,
That's
not
our usual.
not
I'm sorry?
June. Not June. It's
I'm sorry. Duh. It's July. That's the next month that follows June. And it's the first Friday, the 5th, July 5th, at our usual time, 9 p.m. Eastern. We do this live. I said do. We do this live. And I'd like to thank, in the chat room, our always present friend, Tommy Hash Browns, for being with us tonight and helping us along as we talked about the movie. So that's tune in next time. Be there live. Show up. It's easy.
Oh, well, kind of like Gertie. Oh, okay. So, well, Demanda, it has been a privilege and an honor to have you here with us tonight, and we are so glad that you made time to be with us despite your recent bad spell of weather there. But if you would, please let the folks out there know where they can catch you, because you are a hot potato.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you guys so much again for having me back. Again, I wouldn't miss talking to you guys about one of my absolute favorite movies. You guys can follow me on social media at Demanda Martini, DMANDAMARTINI. July, hopefully, knock on wood, I'm going to be taking it a little bit easy for a little bit. And then in August, I will be, if you're a con goer, I will be at Otakon at the beginning of August in DC, and then at FlameCon in the middle of August in New York City. And then my big thing to sort of round out the summer, start the fall, is I am a guest at the Uncanny Experience and X-Men convention in Minneapolis.
Ooh, you are
Wonderful.
one of the busiest drag queens I know.
And folks, I follow her on Twitter, but where else? Can they follow you anyplace else?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook are like my 3 mains. I'm on some of the newer ones like Threads and Blue Sky, if you were a person who was on any of those. But for the most part, it's just kind of all shared across all 3. But yeah, you can find me really anywhere on social media. I'm easily Googleable. I have a very unique name.
And usually wearing a red hat that may or may not be borrowed from another member of the team.
Maybe.
All right. Sounds
Oh.
great. Thanks again for being here, Amanda.
Oh, Toppy, I have the
Yeah.
perfect way to send us off for the evening. Are you
All
ready
right.
for this one?
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Cuthbert, save me my special seat, sweetie.
That was perfect.
Oh, and I the only thing that I could say about this movie that might be only a tiny bit reality based is that there is some humor in this movie that would not be allowed in present day because it's accurate to the period. We were not always kind to women, and well, John Lithgow gets the prize for that example.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
Lithgow,
I suppose.
John Lovett. Sorry.
John Lovitz. Yeah. Yeah, that didn't stand out to me because he was playing a creep.
Oh, my favorite line was, "Did you promise the cows you would write?"
He had some pretty good funny lines in there.
All right, folks, we're gonna say goodnight here, and I'll play us out with some of the music from the movie.
Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia.
Our show streams live on the first and third Friday of the month.
Go to matineeminutia.com, click the YouTube icon for live video, enter Discord or chat.
You can find our show anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Tweet us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Find our group on Facebook.
Have an idea for a show? Or why not let us know how we're doing?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.
All right, I'm gonna stop.